Hello, my name is Alex Polvey, and I'm here to give you a quick overview of Cloudkick and how it works. So let's get started. What you see here is a list of servers. Each of these bars represents a server. In this case, these servers are actually running on the Rackspace cloud. What you might notice really quickly here is that a lot of these machines have different tags and different colors, and there's these little widgets over here telling you what's going on. Some gauges telling you the current status of your server so you can get a quick glance. But first I wanted to show you how you would actually register your machines with Cloudkick. So what you would do is you click here on Add Provider. Cloudkick supports 8 different cloud providers currently: EC2, GoGrid, Linode, SliceHost, Rackspace, Remote Hosting, a bunch of different hosting providers. So you select the hosting provider of your choice. In this case, I would have added a Rackspace account. I could add multiple accounts if I want to, so it's very convenient if you have a machine on EC2 and maybe one over on Rackspace. But what you would do is you would go over to the Rackspace dashboard, pull in your username and API key, and then hit save, and then all your machines would appear, just like so. So in this case, we have, I don't know, it's about 23 servers, as indicated up here, and we can start to dig into them and see what's going on. So a good example, I think, is to look down at maybe this disk here. It's orange, so if we were to click on it, it would pull up the latest monitoring data, and in this case we see that disk is warning. This means that at one point in time an alert was generated when this went from an OK to a warning state. And the reason that it's warning is that the capacity of 76% is greater than 75%, and 75% in this case is the alert threshold. So if we wanted to see kind of how the growth has been trending for that, we could pop over here to the Graphs tab on this machine and click on disk. We could look at disk percent used. And what this is telling us is how the disk usage has been growing over time. So we can scroll back to sort of a longer term. That initial graph wasn't very exciting. But we can see it's been gradually creeping up over time here. And if we wanted to, we could overlay another graph. Let's say how many blocks are free. Let's kill this one. We could see, you know, blocks free are slowly dropping over time, which makes sense as well. Anything that Cloudkick monitors, we also graph, which is really handy. If you're familiar with tools like Nagios or Cacti, sort of is a hybrid of those where everything just comes together. Additionally, we can click on this Diagnostics tab, and what this did is it actually reached all the way out to the server and pulled in the latest data about what's running on this machine. This machine is actually pretty idle, but if we were to go grab a machine that was maybe a little more busy, maybe one of these ones with the red CPU usage, we could pull it in and see sort of what's happening on the machine in order to give it CPU load. In this case, there's some scripts running that are causing it to have load. And what's neat is this data is pulled in real time. So when I click on that tab, it actually is pulling the data off again. So this is the most up-to-date data possible. It's live data. So that's another big benefit of Cloudkick, is that we do a lot of things to make the data as fresh as possible and as real time as possible. One other little handy feature here is the ability to tag your infrastructure. So if we pop into this thing, press tag, we could select different tags that are associated with this machine. Now this is handy for a number of reasons. One, just for organizing how you lay out your infrastructure and what's running on what machine, but also it sets us up to set up things like monitoring based on a tag instead of on an individual server. And I'll get to how that works in just a minute. Some other little features from the dashboard right here: we can connect to servers. In this case, we just pulled up a terminal, so you can run basic commands. This allows you to run diagnostics or whatever features you need straight from the web. Pretty handy to get going, just so you're ready to connect to a server and actually issue commands on it, and it's all wired up for you. Another little tool that we have at Cloudkick is something called CKL. CKL is an independent tool that is installed on your machine. So, CKL-H. And what what this does is it allows you to annotate changes that you make on your machines. So if you are in a team, let's say, and somebody goes and restarts the web server, well, you could do a little CKL for that, CKL-M restarting the web server. And then you could throw this -s flag on there, which allows you to actually do the command. So let's say I wanted to run, etc init.d apache2. This machine doesn't actually have Apache on it. It doesn't have. Let's just restart the Cloudkick agent, just as an example. Restart the Cloudkick agent, and then echo or tail a log file, for instance. And when we exit out of there, we get an alert back on Cloudkick saying restarting the web server. What's neat here is that automatically time-stamped when the command was ran, who it was, which system user ran it, the name of the machine, and it also captured all the output for the commands that were ran. So this is useful for keeping track of what happened on your server, as well as how to actually perform actions on the machine. So it's useful for information sharing. But the really neat thing about this is when you tie it back to Cloudkick's graphing tools. So I'm going to do is go over here to Save Graphs. And what Save Graphs do is allow you to sort of pre-set up machines or graphs that do what you want. So just to finish off the CKL example here, I'm going to load some charts here. I'm going to turn on the right axis here. So in this case, I'm comparing CPU usage versus memory usage. But what I can do is I can turn on the changelog. And now I start seeing these little dots here that say restarting the website, or again, restarting the web server right here. So what's interesting is I could see, for instance, how the performance changes based on the actions that I make on my servers. And this is useful for a number of reasons. Sort of the ideal use case is you ship a new version of software and then you see that your performance all of a sudden is horrible on your servers. And with Cloudkick, we make it really easy to see those sorts of things. So about this tool itself, what we're looking at, what it does is it allows you to construct graphs of arbitrary things on different machines. So let's say we want to see the ping average on this machine, and we also want to see the ping average on Web 2. Let's pull it up. You could throw it on there and see how they're comparing roughly the same. You could also monitor it or see how it's being monitored from a different data center. And so we see when it's being monitored from Slice Host, the ping latency is a lot less than when it's being monitored from Amazon. And that's because, in this case, the machine is actually hosted on Slice Host, and so it's obviously going to be faster. And so, again, the idea here is it's really robust, the graphs are really fast, we can zoom back out to a month of data and pull up 3 different series. You can see where latencies were having problems a while ago. You can zoom in on different parts of the graph to sort of get a better snapshot of what's going on, and it's all just right here through the web interface. Another really neat thing that we can do is what we call aggregate graphs. So remember those tags that we set up earlier? Well, all of those tags create groups of machines, and what we do is we automatically aggregate all that data for you. So let's say we wanted to see all the stats about the machines that are tagged production. So we'll load that up. We see that ping average has been looking pretty good on these machines. The CPU idle is dropping recently. They're getting busier. Memory usage across them and average is so and so on. We can flip between different types of graphs. For instance, memory total. We can see what the CPU steal is across these machines. Steal is an important metric to see if your hypervisor or your host machine is overloading itself. So in this case, steal is nice and low, as we had hoped. But what's really interesting is we can take this data and compare it to the provider average as well. And what the provider average is the aggregate data across all of the machines that we notice, that we monitor as part of Cloudkick. So in this case, we can see that the steal on my individual server is much less than the actual provider average for rack space as a whole. So this is interesting because it shows you that you're actually on a group of machines that has, is not overloaded compared to the general amount of CPU steal across all of these different hosts. And again, this data is available days, weeks, months, and so on. And it's just right here. Another neat little feature is the ability to see this plot it's 1 week's worth of hourly averages for CPU steel. And what this allows you to see is that, you know, a lot of it's very sporadic, right? This, the bigger the dot means the higher the CPU steel. So we don't hit the CPU that often on this machine, but it's kind of sporadic. It's just another way to visualize what's going on with your machines. So all of this is really great, but how do we actually get it set up? So I'm going to click up here on the monitoring tab and just do a quick example of setting up a new monitor. So let's name it demo. We're going to make a group of checks here. For instance, HTTP, we're going to check our website. Let's call it cloudkick.com. We have some advanced options if you want to make sure body contains a certain data or so on. We'll add that check. We could also add, I don't know, let's do a disk check so we get an email or an alert if there's, you know, if disk usage is too high. Let's add that one. We also could do, those are good for now. Let's just do those two. Now this is a really powerful thing with Cloudkick is you can go and check individual servers to be monitored if that's what you want, or you can set them up based on tags. So let's say anything tagged, in this case web, is going to get the monitors. So that's 4 machines currently. And if there's a problem with either of these monitors, let's send an email to Mark and we're going to fire a webhook, which allows you to write your own sort of alerts to google.com. And again, in this case, google.com is just an example. So we're going to save that. Should be set up here. Second. And so what this is going to do is it added it to the monitor list here. Demo, it's in the middle, tag web. It's going to email these different things here. The different types of alerts that we actually support. You can see over here on the new alerts, we do email, SMS, webhooks, which will send a payload over HTTP to a destination of your choice. And we also partnered with another company called PagerDuty, and what they do is on-call escalation procedures. So if you're a team that has a big, you know, you have a big team and you want to escalate between people, PagerDuty is a good option there. But what we can do is pop back over to the summary and see everything that's going on this machine. And in this case, find the machine named web, and we see that there's another disk check and it already ran. It's running, and so everything seems to be going well. This page that you're looking at, if you're familiar with Nagios, it's kind of similar to that. It gives you the overview of everything that's going on all of your infrastructure. So it sort of loads all the data all at once, which is really handy for getting a quick snapshot of how well your infrastructure is performing. Another feature I wanted to show you was called the Cloudkick Viz. What the Viz is it's a real-time 3D representation of what's going on with your infrastructure. So in this case, we see a bunch of servers, and every dot here is a different server. So remember that server list we previously saw? Each of these are those servers again. Now what's really neat about this is the servers are arranged based on their metrics, in this case, ping, memory, and CPU. So as these metrics change in real time, the servers will rearrange themselves as well. And what this allows you to do is see the health of your environment just at a glance here. And this is meant to go on a big screen somewhere in your office, just so you can keep an eye on really the pulse of your infrastructure. And one of these machines is blinking red, so we could click on it and see what's going on. In this case, CPU is really high, and so we can see that easily. And the machines will start flying around as soon as we set up, some more monitors that will check it out. But it's a neat little visualization that you get just as a side effect of using Cloudkick. So that concludes our demo. If you have any questions or feedback on features that you would like to see, please feel free to shoot us an email at support@cloudkick.com. All right, thank you.